I'm going to be joined with Kane Wolf, and we're going to be seeing Ice Cold Juice face off versus Team QB. How are you doing today?
We're doing good. I'm pretty excited to see what's gonna happen because I think if I'm not wrong, Team QB and Ice Cold Juice are tied technically because last week Ice Cold Juice did not play their second game series against Cosmic Riders. So technically, as of right now, they're still technically 2-1-0, two wins, one loss, and no tie just yet. They're undecided on that. Meanwhile, Team QB has is pretty much on par with the same record. They have two games won or two series won, one loss and one tied. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I believe the top two team or top one of the top three teams, excuse me, the two top three teams in the league facing off this week.
Yeah, and already from the bans, we're seeing a lot of target bans. LeBlanc being one banned out by Ice Cold Juice. It is a fairly good ban just in general, but we have been seeing TSM Sherlock on Team QB banning it a lot. We're also seeing the Talon banned out in terms for the other respective mid laner. Call me Carrot, please. And also we're seeing two support bans, the Malzahar and the Karma. Malzahar just being incredibly impressive in lane to deal with. Just once it's level 6, you just kind of press R, get the Nether Void called down, and your AD carry is kind of screwed. But also the Karma is another strong support that can be seen in the bottom lane. So I think those two bans are pretty interesting. Seeing a Vi picked up as well. Again, strong jungler, fast clears, great ganking capability, and overall one of the strongest junglers in the game right now.
And it looks like they might be thinking of Zac. Or, I'm sorry, Jax. Wow. Man, I just mixed that up real bad.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I have a client bug then if I'm not saying that.
Yeah, Jax, if they go with that, Jax top lane, I mean, I don't think Harkin has been playing too much Jax, if I'm not wrong.
You're actually, yeah, you're hit the head on the nail. He hasn't played at all. I'm actually thinking that's going to be a Jax jungle. Looking at the match history of Zac, he's been playing a lot. The Kha'Zix is still open though, so I'm hoping maybe they want to pick that up instead of the Jax. But they're going to actually opt for the Misfortune. That could be a Misfortune support. I don't think it will be though. We haven't seen the Zara picked out. Most likely will be his Misfortune AD carry, which with the recent changes in 7.3, 7.2 to lethality, she's actually really strong right now.
Yeah, we're actually if any of you were watching LCS this evening, if I'm not wrong, it was the Team Liquid game versus Immortals, and I believe Immortals had picked up Misfortune, and that was it was quite strong in their hands in game one. They just could not do anything against Misfortune. Every time the ult came down, it was just chaos everywhere on Team Liquid, and Immortals, I think, ran away with the first game pretty handily.
Yeah, and now looking at actually Team QB's draft here, I'm liking their composition a lot. They have a lot of strong engage with the Nautilus, Riptide, the Ashe, Arrow, Swain also in the top lane is going to be a great matchup for him, into the Shen. Shen kind of doesn't deal well with a lane bully, such as Swain can be. Corki also in the mid lane can also get a little bit of engage with his big package that he gets. Starting at 8 minutes, he gets it every 6 minutes after. So looking at Team QB's draft so far, obviously we still have a pick left for Ice Cold Juice. I'm really liking the global composition that they can bring with the big package, the arrow, but also the engage and the reliable engage that can be used. But at the same time, it can also be used in disengage. You can use the Ashe arrow to shoot people if you're being chased. But to kind of counteract that engage as well, we're seeing finally the Alistar picked up for Ice Cold Juice. So they're going to have either the Shen or the Alistar most likely going to be engaging, and I like both team comps in terms of engaging. The disengage isn't the most strongest. I would hope to see a little bit better comps drafted in terms of stopping that engage. You don't have a huge amount of peel. The Alistar, of course, can peel, same with the Orianna with her shield, and she can pull up. But overall, though, I'm thinking that these two teams are going to be wanting to fight a lot with the comps that they've drafted so far.
Right, and I'm really, honestly, really liking Nautilus because Nautilus is a really simple champion to play. I mean, you can't ask for more. I mean, the ult is just a point and click CC, and it knocks up anything in range of the target within a certain radius, and it's just I prefer it to Alistar personally, because I think, like I said, that hook a little easier to catch people with, whereas Alistar you have to go in. Meanwhile, Nautilus you can bring them in with you, and that's why I prefer Team QB's comp a little bit more, just because I like the Nautilus pick.
Yeah, and so now we're actually going to be moving into the Spectre delay, so I do want to talk about each of the lane matchups specifically. First, starting off with the top lane, Camille wasn't banned, nor was it picked by either team. I don't really necessarily agree with that. I think that I would have hoped to at least see one team pick it out, but obviously if neither top laner has really gotten a chance to play it, probably because it's been banned a whole bunch, I don't think it's necessarily strong or smart for them to pick it if they haven't got practice on it. But I think the top lane matchup in terms of which laner has the opponent, I'm going to have to put it over onto Team QB. Shen kind of gets bullied in lane, and that's partly because of his Stand United, his global ultimate. He can just shield these allies. It's a really strong ability, and sort of to counteract that, they got to make him weak somehow, and that's in the laning phase. He used to be really actually strong in the laning phase, but around patch like 6.22, I want to say, it was around end of last season, they nerfed his damage heavily, and Swain does really well into Shen, because Shen is going to have an ability to block auto attacks with his W, and Swain doesn't really care to auto attack, just as the birds. He's the Birdman. And so that basically allows Swain to get off a bunch of damage that Shen can't really deal with. He can go for the early Spirit Visage, the early Spectral's Call, but still, if 97 Water Polo plays that Swain right, I think top lane might be in trouble for Ice Cold Juice here.
Yeah, going into the jungle, I mean, it looks like the Vi and Jax matchup. I mean, Jax is always a late game monster, as everyone knows. Jax can be quite strong at the end of a game, but overall, I think the early game is going to be really heavily in favor of Uzi Rex with the Vi. Strong clears, like you said, great ganking potential, whereas Jax kind of has to get real up close to land that CC, whereas Vi can just kind of Q dash in or ult.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that the Jax, I looked up his runes and masteries. He is going to be going for fervor in terms of masteries, and for runes, he's going to be going a lot of attack damage, a lot of attack speed. So he's not going to be necessarily the most tanky person on this team. Obviously, you're going to be looking for the Alistar, the Shen to be tanky. But the Vi can abuse Courage of the Colossus, which she has opted to go into. She can abuse it a lot with her Q and also her ultimate. And so I think in the early levels especially, that shield will probably be one of the key factors in determining which jungler is going to get, like if they do interact in the jungle at all, I think that's going to go over to Vi, just because that jungle, or not jungle, the masteries that Vi has opted to take with the Courage of Colossus will help her win that 1v1 if it does happen. We are now loading into the match, so a little bit harder to talk about the matchups, but we still do have going into mid lane just before the game does really get heated. I do want to talk also about Corki into Orianna. It is a pretty even matchup. Corki obviously does have the big package, so he can roam a little bit more, but in the end, I don't expect too much to happen mid lane. Pretty safe lane overall for both laners.
Right. What do you think about that Ash Misfortune? If I'm not wrong, Team Liquid opted to go with Ash in their first game against Immortals, and it was the same exact matchup, Misfortune into Ash, and Misfortune actually ended up being quite a force to be reckoned with for Immortals.
I think it'll be interesting to see, especially with the supports that both teams have opted into. Obviously, if Ice Cold Juice can get ahead, they can get this Misfortune big. Obviously, they're going to do a lot because you can have the Alistar Headbutt Pulverize in, Misfortune can get the bullet time off, and then you just pretty much evaporate your enemies. On the other hand, though, if it is an equal fight, you got the Ash Hero, you have the Riptide from Nautilus and the Dredge line. to basically stop the MF's bullet time. So I think if Team QB does play it right, the MF can be kind of just taken out of the fight, and her bullet time, which is her ultimate ability, can pretty much just be negated with all the CC that Team QB does have. However, I think it's going to actually be the junglers who are going to be the ones deciding this lane, because both supports huge on CC, really, really tanky on both of them. Whereas the AD carries are both really immobile, and both just, if they get hit by CC, it's kind of over for them. So I think it'll be fairly even. It'll pretty much just be who gets death first in terms of which AD carry will be doing more damage.
Yeah, sorry, just give me one moment. I'm gonna be trying to fix some minor issues here.
No problem. Not much action's going on anyways, it's just a standard line of scrimmage. Looks like both junglers will be opting to go into the red and blue on the bottom side of the map, respectively. So not much shenanigans going around, no invades, no funny business here, just overall some standard League of Legends. So I also do notice that both top laners actually are waiting for the minion wave to start. Swain actually doing a little bit better because I do see missing ping go off from the Shen, so it kind of does create some confusion in terms of which side Team Cube started, so I do have to applaud them for that. If you're looking at this from red side, they don't know really where the jungler started. They never got vision on Vi before the jungle had, or before the leash had started. So if you're looking at Ice Cold Juice, they don't know where Azirax on this Vi had started, and so it's going to be a little confusing until Azirax decides to show himself on the map. I'm looking in chat and not seeing any reason for the pause. Port says they are lagging. Switching hotspots, they say. Not a big deal. Will be Jax actually going from the blue buff to the red buff just immediately, so he will be topside. A little tip for top laners, if you do know the jungler starts on the bottom side, look for around 3-ish minutes or so, and most likely, if the jungler does have a decent jungle path, they will be heading topside. A little tip for top laners, if you do know the jungler, we're going to be seeing Harkin, Scythe, and Zac going for that top lane gank just to start it off, as we see Azirax pathing down, or pathing up, sorry, to the blue buff. Is a little bit later though than Zac on that Jax, so maybe we'll see Zac getting the first move. We'll have to see though, as the pause does end up resuming. Now it does look like on the bottom side of the map, it does look like blue team or Team QB will be getting the push advantage as they do hit level 2 first, though it is not much overall going on. Alistar does not decide to go in for the headbutt pulverize. Well, looks like actually Zac will be trying to get an invade. Does get the ward onto blue buff, so he does know Vi's there. Doesn't decide to go for anything. Going to midline, a little bit of damage being poked onto Homie Carrot, please. Zac hovering around mid lane. Doesn't look like he'll be going in for a gank though. Ooh, nice red line onto Toddy 2K from Dr. Blue. Damage will be done. Ocean's Andrew dealing a fair amount of damage to Esper Luna, as he will be forced to use a potion. No sums blown though, so not too big of a deal. Still overall even though. I can decide just dodging out the Swain there. Got hit by the never move.
Alright, we're back. It looks like all the issues have been solved.
Good to hear. Not much action's happened though, we're just seeing a little bit of playing around here and there. A little bit of missing pings.
And it looks like Skullcrab is going to go to Zac CWB on bot side.
First neutral monster tested has been going over to Ice Cold Juice. Maybe it's the beginning to something. Probably not. But it is a start.
Meanwhile, not much going on. Thought he's still kind of trying to proc that. Very nicely done. The bouncing just that a good comment was made during the Team Liquid vanilla game by the casters. You see lethality being abused a lot now with the changes to it, making it a lot better. The good thing about Misfortune's kit is that if you remember before lethality being introduced, crit was pretty much the thing. And here we see a fight going on in bot lane, a little bit of poke and move there, so a little bit of damage being exchanged on, but looks like Ice Cold Juice is kind of getting poked out now. But back to what I was saying. Crit is built into Misfortune's kit with the bouncing bullet. If you hit off a minion and kill it, the bounce actually does crit, which is why it's actually kind of better to not be playing champions that used to rely on crit so much, with lethality being such a strong tool now.
Yeah, and also part of the reason why lethality does end up being so strong, the bullet time from Misfortune, while each wave can actually critically strike, in the end, if you do build lethality, since it is scaling so much better now, you do a lot more damage in the early game than you would if you would build crit on a lot of these AD carries. And also, a lot of the AD carries that do end up building lethality are building because a lot of them are using abilities. So you got the Jhin, he's using his Kern Call, his Deadly Flourish, his Bouncing Grenades. You know, these are all abilities, and abilities can't crit. There are a couple that can, but 99% of abilities in League of Legends can't. So what you do is you build lethality to get that extra damage off. Obviously, of course, so AD carries like Caitlyn or Tristana, champions that you don't really use abilities for your main source of damage, still going to want to build that crit because it does end up dealing more damage. However, that's why we're seeing Jhin, Varus, Misfortune kind of come back. Mid lane though.
Mid lane, first blood does go to Easy Rex with the gank onto Call Me Carrot.
Following a little bit of action going on now.
Thought he was trying to poke out Ocean Tamer, but Dr. Fu is just tanking all of that. Thought he has to use heal. As for Luna, trying to push them away from his AD carry. And thought he makes it out of there just with a sliver of health.
Yeah, it is actually a better trade for Team QB as their support is low health and not their AD carry. This allows their AD carry to kind of be able to dish out more damage, because if Dr. Flo and that Nautilus ends up dropping first, he still got damage in the fight, whereas if Toddy 2K on Ice Cold Juice drops, the Alistar really can't deal a whole lot of damage. All four members of bot lane on both teams do have flash up, however they don't have the heal and exhaust respectively up, so if a fight does break out, possibly with a jungler, the only way of escape is going to be that flash. You can't really heal your way out, you can't exhaust your way out. So now both support and AD carry of both teams have to be a little bit more cautious in terms of their mobility and making sure that they have enough time to escape, because none of them are really mobile except for Dr. Flo and that Nautilus. You can use his Dredgeline to get out of there. Other than that though, they gotta be careful.
And it looks like Zach kind of went into the bot side of jungler on Team QB's bot side, and did a little bit of warding. Looks like he's attempting to steal red buff, I think, but it looks like Sherlock has noticed, and they will be collapsing on him. Dr. Food coming in, and the blast cone unfortunately knocks Sherlock in with Zach to the dragon pit, but thankfully the Shen ult from Harkin does save Zach.
Unsure about that flash there from TSM Sherlock over the dragon wall. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think he probably could have walked around. However, didn't have vision on where Call Me Carrots was, so maybe he just thought Orianna was roaming down a lot quicker. But we do see the Stand United used as well, so that is a big cooldown for Team QB to take advantage of. Right now, Stand United's on a really long cooldown. As a former Shen main myself, actually, using Stand United on a teammate to save it and not really getting anything out of it is like, it feels terrible. So I hope that Team QB can take advantage of it. They still got about 2 minutes before that Stand United does come up, and both top laners do have TP, so it is pretty even for right now. But if they can somehow force Harkin Scythe out of lane and they can make him TP back to lane, then they can start to abuse the teleport onto 97 Water Polo to possibly make plays around the map. Until that happens though, using that Stand United wasn't the most punishing thing for Ice Cold Juice since they didn't really get anything out of it.
Yeah, and I do disagree with using the Stand United there. I mean, it did save his jungler, but at the same time, it actually allowed 97 Water Polo to actually put quite a solid amount of damage onto top tower on the target top tower there.
Yeah, and especially at the earlier levels as well, his Stand United only does 250 health and rips shielding, so really it's not that much. Even like a level like 8 or 9 Janna, her shield could probably do more than that, or at least close to it. And really at the early levels, until you hit that level 11 and level 16 power spike for Shen, you almost want to use your Stand United more so as like a way to kind of teep down and just help engage, not really as more of a defensive ult. You still can, it's still a great ultimate to use for defensively, but at the same time you can almost get more out of it using it offensively, because in the end that shield isn't always going to be really the big playmaker in terms of saving people since it's such a small shield early levels.
Yeah, and it looks like Water Polo is kind of poking Harkin down quite a decent amount. Water Polo is kind of sitting healthy at plenty of mana still left and plenty of health. But like you said, Harkin is at a slight disadvantage because of the bully potential of Swain.
Yeah, and I do say he's doing a good job CSing, better than I would thought he would be going into this matchup. However, where I don't see is that well of CSing is in the jungle. Right now it's 42 to 17. It's about a 500-600 gold advantage for Aussie reps in terms of gold. Part of that, some of those minions are from like laning, but at the same time though, I have seen Zach kind of just go into the jungle, get some wards down. You know, we saw bottom lane, he tried to go to steal the red, didn't get it. So I feel like Zach has to be a little bit more efficient in terms of getting, you know, either counter friendly. Actually, we're seeing a little bit of tussle, not too much. But I think he needs to be a little bit more efficient in terms of how he's spending his gold and how he's spending his gold.
Yeah, he actually almost could have died there. Uzi Rex actually hiding in the top and caught him out a little bit, with his pants down, but manages to get away with a little bit of health. Looks like Call Me Carrot is roaming top to try and make something happen, and so is Zach. Zach is also on his way around there, but it looks like nothing will come out of this roam from Call Me Carrot. And the ult comes out of Potty, but Dr. Fu knocks up Potty with his ult, and Ocean Danger does have to burn shield, but the ult from Ocean Danger stuns Potty. Harkin Scythe roams down, manages to get the kill secured using Stand United, and come away with 1 kill and a couple summoners burned. And isn't too bad. I mean, could be a lot worse, but Water Polo will try to push the wave in. And looks like Sherlock trying to make something happen with the roam, but Call Me Carrot comes down to support, and Sherlock might be dead here. They're trying to give it away, and Carrot manages to get the kill. Potty getting the slow onto it. And looks like that roam did not work out in Sherlock's favor.
Yeah, and sort of like what we were talking about before, using the Stand United offensively, I actually really did like the use of it there. The use that he wasn't really, Taunty 2K wasn't really in danger of getting killed. Was pretty low, but not really in terms of dying, wasn't like gonna die. And so they ended up still deciding to use Stand United, and they ended up picking 3 kills actually, sorry, from that. So I want to condemn Harkin Scythe for doing that. Really good play there. They're actually still down in gold, about 100. I'm not entirely sure how that is. CS is probably gonna be the defining factor here. In the jungle, we still see about a 700 gold lead, and then top lane's about 100 actually gold lead. Not too much overall, but that 700 gold lead in the jungle is what's going to be making the difference here. We're still seeing Zach kind of just not be as efficient as he could be in the jungle. Didn't really get any. When the whole thing gone down bot lane, he was top lane, kind of holding the tower.
Luna kind of missed his combo there.
Yeah.
And the double ult combo from Ocean Danger and Dr. Food does get the kill on Potty. Luna trying to get away, but unfortunately that's not happening because Rex comes down and secures that kill.
Yeah, and so that was unfortunate for Ice Cold Juice. Like we said though, I still want to see Zach try to go top. He's kind of just either has to mirror where Ozzy Rex is on the map, or he has to be with Ozzy Rex and kind of match where he's going. And so until that goes, I am a little bit worried in terms of how the jungle matchup is going to go. We did talk about in Champs Life, we did put the favor in favor of Ozzy Rex in terms of just kind of doing well early game. We do know that Zach on that Jax will scale really well. You know, he does take Fervor. It looks like he's going to be building that blood, so he will get some damage, but it probably will be a little bit later than what we're expecting.
Yeah, and Call Me Carrot doing a little bit of ward clearing there, doing his part, try and keep his team in this. Doing a bit of vision. Market Scythe down to half health already. Quite a lot of gold coming down from Water Polo. 7 Water Polo is actually holding his lane quite well and making it work in his favor. With the amount of times Harkin has roamed to bot with his standing, he's put a surprising amount of tower damage on Harkin's tower. But after that gank from Uzi Rex and the team fight from Ocean getting taught, and Luna going down, bot tower health for ICJ is not so hot. Their tower might go down with another good solid push.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see either Harkin Scythe either use the Stand United or use the TP to make a play, or we see Zach try to make a play either on the bottom side of the map. Dragon has spawned. Someone has disconnected. Maybe we'll see a pause for that. Until that happens, though, looks like they're saying pause in chat.
Yeah,
Yep.
This is their third pause, so with that, Ice Cold Juice does only have one, or they don't have any pauses remaining, so if the next time Luna does disconnect, they're gonna have to play a man down until Luna can reconnect.
Yeah, unfortunate it is. That is the way, though. Back to what I was talking about, though. Unfortunately for Ice Cold Juice, their bottom lane and their top lane, their turrets and their waves are getting pushed into them. The towers themselves are quite low. We see the bottom tower around like 40% health. Top tower is about 10% health left. And you need to either make plays around the map to sort of take pressure off your towers, or you need to have help either from your jungler, maybe from the mid laner, to kind of push out those waves. Part of the thing with Shen is if you do decide to either use Stand United, use your TP, you're going to give up a lot of pressure to your tower if the enemy top laner decides not to match with TP. But the thing is with you coming down to either bot or mid lane, you can help them get their tower, or you can either take Dragon, or you can take some kind of objective. But when they don't do that, it allows the enemy top laner, and 97 Water Polo is doing a great job at this, is he's basically punishing the Shen for not doing anything else with his Stand United. He's saying, okay, like, you TP down, you got kills, that's cool and all, but you're not really doing anything with it. I'm just going to hit your tower. And it's unfortunate to see, but I do have to say 97 Water Polo is doing a good job at that, so that is good for Team QB to be taking advantage of them not getting any advantages and sort of being like, well, if you're not going to take anything, we're going to just keep on taking your towers because you don't seem to be reacting very well to it. So I'm hoping that Ice Cold Juice can kind of realize that that's what's going on and sort of help the top and help the bottom lane kind of to get those waves pushing out. We obviously didn't expect the Shen to have great wave clear into the Swain, but it's starting to hurt him now, and if he loses that tower at like 16 minutes, it's going to really hurt Ice Cold Juice if they want to win.
And Uzi Rex sitting in that bot bush, just waiting in the river, hoping that Toddy and Esperluna will push out, but it looks like they're managing their waves pretty well and trying to keep it right where they are. But the excellent bouncing bullet on Ocean's Andrew does poke him down with Frankenstein getting poked out by Water Polo. That swing is just doing work. Call Me Carrot uses Ghost to try and catch up to Water Polo, but I don't know if anything will happen. And Ocean's Andrew with the ult, and Dr. Fu, same thing. Uzi Rex following up, giving it to the top. Uses the ult to try and survive, flashes away as well. And looks like Sherlock is going to come down and help them push through that first tower.
Yeah, and I was saying before, you know, Ice Cold just needs to start making a play to kind of get that tower, either bottom or top lane, to get the push going in favor of them. And, you know, we saw them put 3 to the top, but they really didn't do anything with it, and as a result, Team QB kind of just said, okay, well, we'll just send everyone bottom lane, and they end up getting the first tower gold. I believe it's split up 4 people, so it's not going to be as big of a spike for the AD carry or the mid laner, but it is still really good for Team QB. They're now about 3,000 gold, and they do pick up that Windrake. Next one spawning will be another Windrake, so possibly pick up 2 in around 5 minutes. But overall, those games starting to look really good for Team QB.
Yeah, that Cloud Drake is going to help Uzi Rex make more plays around that. He's been making a lot more effort to try and influence the game in his team's favor, whereas Zach has been trying to just farm. He can't really make anything happen because, unfortunately, Jax doesn't have exactly the best games compared to Vi. And it looks like Esperluna has disconnected for what it looks like about the 4th time.
They are pausing. I don't believe they're allowed to pause.
They are not allowed to. Let me make sure that that's totally not happening. Unless Team QB is giving up their pause, which I don't think they would do. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I do believe they are acknowledging that they have already gone over their pause. Other amounts of the times that they can pause. Mid lane though, we are seeing 97 Water Polo kind of come from that side and just pressure them off. So we'll see Esperluna. I think he's still DC'd, so he is in base, not moving.
Yeah, I think he is going to be, unfortunately, disconnected.
Yeah,
he's having connection issues, unfortunately.
TSM Sherlock though does have the big package, so maybe we'll see a play here. He is going mid lane, but doesn't seem like anyone else is going. Ocean Andrew does have the enchanted crystal arrow up if they do decide to go on. Dr. Blue gonna be going to that red line.
Caught. Ult by Call Me Carrot. Excellent ult by Call Me Carrot, but unfortunately can't keep them there long enough to get rid of tower. And Zach almost dies, but Harkin using his Stand United to save.
Yeah. Zach actually got below 10 health there. I saw right as he had gotten away. So really good Stand United from Harkin's side. Same life.
He throws out his ult there, trying to get something, trying to push off the wave.
Yeah.
Save his mid tower, unfortunately.
Does look like though.
Yeah, it looks like Team QB is holding on to this lead and trying not to give it up. They're holding on with a death grip.
Fortunately, all the people that are at mid lane, you know, you got Esperluna, Parkinside, and Zach on Jax, Alistar, and John don't have very good wave players. They can't really hold that tower well at all. So we'll go over to them. Now 3 towers for Team QB. They're looking at about a 5,000 gold lead at 20 minutes, which is pretty substantial. And now it looks like they're starting to get control over the top side. Baron has spawned. So we're seeing red side try to take as many jungle camps as they can. It's pretty inevitable that eventually Team QB will start to move in there. And I'm hoping to see some plays around Baron, possibly. It looks like Zach has caught up in terms of CSing on that Jax. So that is good to hear. The gold lead has gone a little bit in favor of OZREX, but part of that's also because they have 3 kills and assists. Also the towers add up as well. But I do want to say good job to Zach. He did catch up. He's back in the game in terms of clearing jungle camps, being efficient with how he gets gold, so good job to him. Top lane though, let's see, like Taunty getting a little bit caught there.
And Water Polo trying to chase down Potty, and Dr. Flea flashing over the wall. Passive snare, unfortunately. Toddy can't do much but sit there and take it.
Yeah, good flash from Dr. Blue. Taunty had already flashed, and he also had healed, so he didn't have any way of getting out. MF's pretty immobile. Actually, Dr. Blue is running more, and
Dr. Blue catches Carrot with the max range hook, I'm pretty sure. Looked like that was quite the distance it traveled.
Yeah, this is just not looking good for Ice Cold Juice. Their main 2 sources of wave clear, actually, Call Me Carrot Please and Taunty 2K and the Oriana and Misfortune respectively, are now dead. Taunty and Kate just spawning up, but they really don't have the best wave clear in terms of just clearing stuff from a distance. Taunty 2K is alright wave clear. Actually,
Harkin catches OZREX with the taunt. Unfortunately, Toddy could not angle the ult in the right direction and catch Uzi with the full ult.
A good play from there. But what I was saying before is that Ice Cold Juice does lack a little bit in terms of wave clear. Call Me Carrot Please on the Oriana can clear waves very effectively using the command ball move and also the command dissonance. So that's really good for clearing waves from a distance. You can do it almost in just the 2 abilities themselves. Taunty 2K on the Misfortune has alright wave clear. The Make It Rain and also the Double Up is pretty good at wave clearing, but it does kind of cost a lot of mana, and since you aren't building Essence Reaver anymore in Misfortune, you don't really get as great of mana regen, and also Ocean Drakes haven't spawned, they haven't taken them. But if we look at Team QB's wave clear, actually we might see a play in the mid lane. Look, like
hiding behind that wall there, trying to see if Team QB would push up and overextend, but wisely they back off and take the farm.
Yeah, but to what I was saying is that Team QB has much better drafting in terms of getting reliable wave clear that's safe to do. They have Ocean's Andrew can clear waves very effectively with the Rinen's Hurricane that's being built. TS, Sherlock, and that Corki has a lot of wave clear. He can throw the Gatling gun, he can throw out bombs. Next up, Water Polo also has really good wave clear. You can decide to use the ultimate ability, or also just decide to throw some throws and have those fly all over the place and beat the minions to death. But in the end, though, we will see the win rate actually picked up by OZREX onto that Team Geese. So again, they're just taking their advantage and they're only making it bigger.
Yeah, I don't see Ice Cold Juice being able to really turn this around unless Team QB just essentially throws the game by making huge macro mistakes. But it doesn't look like it. I mean, they've been rotating onto objectives fairly well. They're prioritizing the right objectives when they have what they have built. Ocean's Andrew is kind of caught out of position, but he does flash away to save himself from the bodies. Meanwhile, Dr. Flea also body trying to catch him. Unfortunately, it looks like TV making oh, and it looks like Ice Cold Juice does turn this fight slightly around. Water Polo is trying to do as much damage as he can on his body. He does catch him. Sherlock and Digital on his body. Harkin trying to save Zach, but unfortunately the standing United does not have just a big enough shield.
Yeah, Stand United did do pretty well onto Zach, but in the end, Zach CW 360 ended up getting killed before the Stand United could finish. Stand United does actually get cast from an ally, and it is the ally either dies or you get interrupted with CC. You're not going to teleport. So possibly if Zach had survived maybe a second and a half later, Harkin's Scythe could have been there to provide some backup, but it's not the case, as we do see a triple kill picked up with Sherlock. looking at chat, it does appear that Esperluna on that Alistar is still lagging. Pretty unfortunate. Hopefully he can get that situation fixed up. But
honestly though, that last fight by Ice Cold Juice, I would have to say it was their best team fight so far.
Yeah.
They made that work, even though it didn't go exactly as planned. It probably that's probably been their best result in terms of kills and kills traded.
Yeah, really good actually shockwave from Call Me Carrots Please. I believe it hit 3 people. I want to say it hit Ocean's Andrew and Ozzy Rex and then Dr. Flu. I could be wrong on those, but really good shockwave. Got one of the main carries down. They're all just clumped up and he's like, okay, shockwave now. I actually thought this fight was going to go in favor of Ice Cold Juice, but TS, I'm sure that kind of was by himself. Nobody really went onto him, so he ended up dealing a lot of damage. But in the end though, good fight from Ice Cold Juice. They're certainly not out of the game yet. If they get a good fight like that, maybe they get a pick or something. I think they're still definitely in the game, and if they play it right, they can easily still win this game.
Yeah, and it looks like Team QB might be posturing for a Baron. They might be setting up for a Baron play in a minute or two. They're trying to push off Ice Cold Juice from the jungle, preventing them from warding Baron.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see tier 2 boots built onto 97 Water Polo, Osirex, and Zac. It is pretty late to be still having tier 1 boots. Obviously, as we are in the Bronze Silver League, so some of the play is a little bit lower, but I feel like they should be around probably around 20 minutes. They should definitely be getting these boots completed, and I think once they do it, especially on Zac, whether he decides to go for Berserk or Mercury Treads, I think that'll make a huge help in terms of just being able to survive or possibly dish out more damage. So hopefully they can get that done pretty soon. I think it'll be pretty crucial if they do want to try to turn fights around. Also in the top lane, if 97 Water Polo does decide to go for some Sorcerer Shoes, will be dealing a bunch of damage as he will get Magic Pen from that. Will make Harkensight's job at splitting against the 97 Water Polo's Swain just that harder.
Now, do you agree with Harkensight's decision to go with the Tiamat to build that Titanic Hydra?
I think it's not a terrible choice, and the reason being is that we talked earlier, Ice Cold Juice doesn't have the greatest wave clear, and neither does Shen. His damage on his Q got significantly nerfed a couple of patches ago, and so he really lacks wave clear. And now with the Titanic Hydra, it does allow him to have not only more dueling power and Swain, but also more wave clear. But it looks like we might see a little bit of a fight break out in the top lane. They're going for that top tier 2 turret.
5v5 might happen here. Unfortunately, just pushing out the way. Ice Cold Juice trying to prevent any more further damage onto top tower.
With the Banshee skill being built though, I would almost say that possibly a Spirit Visage would be better to get first. However, I can see the idea behind it. You got the Enchanting Arrow from Ash, you have the other move from Nexus Water Polo Swain, Dr. Blue with his Dredge line and his Death Charge. You're going to be doing a lot of CC that can catch you out. So I think that might be what he's going for, but in the 1v1 matchup against the Swain, you're gonna want to be having more healing. The CC being able to block like one enemy ability is nice, but against the Swain, you know, he's gonna be probably using his crows to get rid of the Banshee's Veil's passive. So I probably would have gone for a Spirit Visage first, but nonetheless, so it is MR, so he is at least building correctly against that.
He goes back. Unfortunately, I think he chose the wrong kind of back there. Esperluna trying to do as much CC as he can, but unfortunately can't save his team from getting dozed by the entire team.
You're the one screaming, I'm not, I can do this. But we were talking about how you said Conquer game mid, I want to back there. I want to look at the Fog of War actually, because I do believe that as soon as he showed vision bottom side is when they engaged.
Yeah, I just don't see why Toddy would make that choice to back. In fact, I feel like he should have just stayed, because that was actually a pretty decent ult by Call Me Carrot. I think he caught most of their team, and if he had just laid down his ult right then and there, I feel like he could have poked down quite a lot of damage onto Team QB. Unfortunately, they end up costing themselves the inhibitor and inhibitor tower. Or, well, I should say inhibitor tower and inhibitor in that order. In top side. So, Ice Cold Juice is gonna have to try and ward out Baron and hopefully make a play there. I think that's their best chance. And if you were watching FlyQuest versus, I believe, Phoenix 1, first game ended up going heavily in favor at the start towards Phoenix 1. FlyQuest just hung on with the skin of their teeth, losing inhibitor and one Nexus tower. They actually ended up coming back from such a massive deficit. They just held on and managed to turn the game around with great fights. And I just hope to see that Ice Cold Juice can do something similar and try and stall the game out, hopefully to make a turnaround.
Unfortunately, that was just actually a really good window of opportunity to take Baron Nashor for Ice Cold Juice. Fortunately though, they didn't have vision on the dragon, so they didn't know where Ozyrex was. But if they had some either a blue ward, which I don't see anybody on Ice Cold Juice having, or proper vision on both Baron and Dragon, they could have realized that Ozyrex was actually a Dragon, and they could have just gone to Baron, taking that. So it does suck a little bit, but kind of into the world though. It is the third win Drakes. Now they're moving quite fast out of combat. They're going to be moving 75 units, or 75 movement speed, I guess, not units. Now we're seeing the bottom lane, top lane though, but
Dr. Fu engaging with look at ult. But I don't think Arkansas can stay alive long enough to save this team. Getting aced by Ozyrex. Unfortunately, I think this is going to end up have that wave pushing into the Nexus Tower. They destroyed 2 inhibitors, and I think this might be death timers are lasting about 20 seconds, and they can honestly end up and it looks like game 1 goes to Team QB with a score of 20-6. 33 minutes and 45 seconds about. Team QB just finishes this one off, and we hope to see that Ice Cold Juice comes back for round 2 and tries to tie up this series. And
yeah, it certainly wasn't a bad showing by Ice Cold Juice. It's not like they played terribly. I think I just had a little bit of problems with the drafting. You can fix that up from game to game. But overall, I think they just got a little bit in trouble by the drafting there. They kind of just didn't have the greatest wave clear. In the end, though, I still think that they again do have a great shot at winning it. MVP though, do you have anybody you'd want to nominate for MVP?
MVP? Let's see.
Looking at the damage charts, we're seeing pretty much equal damage around the boards for Team QB. 21,000 damage from the Swain, 22 from the Corki, 16,000 from the Ashe. On the terms of Ice Cold Juice, we're seeing 10,000 from the Orianna and 15,000 from the Misfortune. Other than that, though, it's not a whole lot of damage. Most of them are tanks, though. I would have liked to see Zach on that Jax do a little more damage. He actually had the lowest damage in the game, which is unfortunate, as he did build, the majority of his build was damage, so he was looking to deal damage, but he never really did anything with it. That being said, though, obviously, maybe just had a bad game. There's always game number 2, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
I honestly think that Ice Cold Juice can win the next game if they plan right. Because I feel like they weren't really thinking straight, and it especially didn't help that Esperluna had disconnected so much. He was having connection issues, and that kind of just probably tilted them in the wrong direction. I know almost anybody would be quite annoyed if they couldn't connect into their game and play it out. So hopefully they solve their connection issues, and I think it'll be a lot closer next game. I don't think it'll be as lopsided as it is or was. I would have to say last game I would nominate Uzi Rex as their MVP.
Yeah, I think that's a fair nomination. He did make plays across the map. He was always ahead in the jungle matchup. He was above CS in the early game. He got off a lot of ganks, not only bottom side. We did see him bottom side a lot, but he was all over the map. So that was good to see. We'll be moving into game 2 though shortly. Looks like they're just going to be selecting or setting up the lobby.
Yep. So meanwhile, we'll take a break and we'll see you back here in just a moment.